Hey, this is Amy Scott Grant. They call me the spiritual ass kicker. And I want to talk to you today really briefly about tithing. You may have heard that term before, tithe. It simply means 1/10, right? And it comes from, it goes all the way back to biblical times, right? Or even earlier, perhaps, because the farmers actually at the end of each season would hold 10% of their yield to save those grains, save those seeds, dry it out for next year so that they would have 10% that they could start with next year. So that's where the concept kind of comes from. But there's a lot of misconceptions about tithing, and some people think it's just for certain religions or for people that are very religious, and that people say, well, I know spiritually I'm supposed to tithe, but I don't go to church, so where am I going to tithe to? So that's what I want to address with you today. Now, I want to tell you first off that what tithing does is actually activates more abundance for you. So this is the reason that people do it, because it taps you into the greater energy of wealth and allows you to really be able to plug into that wealth energy by saying, you know what? I have so much that I'm going to give 10%. Even if you have very little, that's sort of the mindset and the thinking behind tithing. Now, some people will also tell you that tithing, charitable contributions don't count as tithing. You know what? I say check in. Check in and see what's optimal for you. And then people have all these questions. Well, is it 10% before tax? Is it 10% after tax? If I own my own business, is it 10% of my profit or 10% of my revenue? Check in. See what's optimal for you. Okay? The reason there's no hard and fast rules on this is because it's up to you. And so it's about what's optimal for you. But it does activate abundance. And I will give you one caveat, is to, when you do your tithe, give joyfully. Okay? If you're like, oh damn, I got to give 10%, or if you do it out of fear, like, oh my God, we have to tithe or else we're not going to have more money coming in. Look at the energy behind that, right? Frustration, obligation, or even fear, scarcity. No. If you can give joyfully from a place of joy and generosity, like really give from your heart chakra, that makes a huge difference in terms of how well tithing activates abundance and brings even more money into you. Now, what if you don't go to church? You could tithe to anybody. You could tithe to your neighbor who always sits down and listens to you bitch about your family or whatever. I've had people send me their tithes. You could tithe to somebody that